Okay, guys, welcome back to Let's Get Freaky podcast. Tonight, we are joined by David, John. Welcome to Let's Get Freaky, brother. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, Tommy. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, man. It's a beautiful summer's day today. Well, we're nearly at summer. We're getting there, but it's a
We're near
lovely
summer.
day. Oh, I can hear
We're in my
myself.
shorts, a t-shirt, cut the grass. It's all good.
Yeah, man, we're ready. We're ready. And you're based in Leon Sea, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, in Essex. Yeah.
Yeah, man, beautiful part of the country. I live in Dorset now, but I'm actually from Essex. I was originally from Brentwood, and I used to go to
Ah,
college in Southend. So Leon Sea was a
right.
spot that
Okay.
I used to go to a lot and love it there,
Know it
man.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
As a,
nice. Can be a bit expensive around here though, property wise, but it's nice.
yeah. Because you're in Essex and it's a beautiful part of Essex as well. So it's going to be expensive.
Yeah, yeah. Because we've got the old fishing village down the road, as you well know,
Yeah.
which is a bit of a tourist attraction in itself in its own right. So yeah, in the spring and summer months, we get quite an influx of tourists. Pretty much like in Dorset, really. I mean, Dorset's a beautiful part of the country.
Yeah, man.
Quite envious, actually. I love Devon and Dorset,
Calm down, mate.
those
Calm down.
areas. Yeah,
Calm
maybe
down,
I'm
brother.
looking for a new house, so
Yeah, calm down. We'll
maybe we'll do some viewings.
we'll get a studio together, man, and we'll split the cost.
Yeah, yeah. Seppi HQ in your
That's
studio.
so you have got. See, if I'm saying this correctly, if I'm saying this incorrectly, let me know. CEPI agency is your channel.
SEPI.
S. Oh, what did I say? C. Oh, sorry, man. See,
See,
I told you, man. If I
it's
were
fine.
right, it'd be dangerous.
It's on. I know other your viewers can't see this, but it's on my name, Tommy. You can see it on my
Yeah,
name.
and I've got it. I've got it written down right in front of me as well, and I've still said it wrong. So that just says, well, what hope have I got, man?
Well, look, I've had it all my life, most of my life with David John. Everyone calls me the wrong name. They think John's my first name, or it's Jones, or it's because on Facebook I am down as David Jones because I have to have a pseudo name because I am a
Yep,
serving police officer.
yep,
So, people I arrest, I don't want them finding me on Facebook.
yeah, hundred
You know,
percent, man.
so most police officers will have kind of a pseudo name in that respect.
Yeah,
So yeah, on probably confusing for most people, but on Facebook I'm David Jones and Seppi Agency. But in real life, I'm David John.
yeah. It's like my wife as well because she's a school teacher, so she's got a different name on her Facebook because she doesn't want like parents and stuff looking into what she's doing on the weekend,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
So I get it, man. I get
Drinking.
it. Yeah, all the pictures that they shouldn't be seeing. Oh, I get it, man.
No, I get it. Yeah.
You're a police officer, so I'm going to be careful what I say tonight.
Yeah, I'm a government contractor and a police officer. So here in the UK, for the benefit of your US listeners, in the UK we have a regular police force and we have a volunteer police force. The two look exactly the same, and the two have exactly the same powers and equipment. And the volunteers drive the same police cars, have the same equipment, same uniform, same training, but they volunteer to be police officers, and they're called special constabulary. So they're not the PCSOs, they're not the guys in blue that don't have any power as such. They have civil rights and a bit of extra, but we are fully fledged qualified police officers. So, and that's what I am. I'm part of a special constabulary here in Essex, and I've been doing it for 10 years now. I was also a serving officer with the National Crime Agency here in the UK. So, again, for those that are not familiar, because the NCA did kind of keep quite covert for a long time, and they used to be called Soccer as well. Serious Organised Crime Agency it used to be called, and then they changed the name to the NCA a few years ago. But they are very much akin to the American FBI. So it's the English version of the FBI. We deal with serious and organised crime globally and domestically,
Oh
and
wow.
been involved in child trafficking, arms dealing, drug trafficking. Um, you know, Tracing paedophiles down across the world because they don't like to stay put, so they get
Yeah,
chased.
yeah, man.
Some serious. work they've done. I worked for the NCA for 4.5 years. Um, Interesting, lovely people, absolutely brilliant people. I actually really kind of miss the NCA. It's just I needed to earn more money. Unfortunately, with everything here in the UK, when you work in law enforcement, you're never going to be a rich man.
Yeah, which is
Um,
crazy because it's
it's just
such
the
an
way it
important
goes, you know?
job. It's wild,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. So, a standard PC's wage and sergeant's wage even is, a struggle. And even an inspector rank is probably paying the mortgage and bills these days. So, yeah, I know I volunteered because I joined it quite late in life and I literally couldn't afford to join at the terrible rate of pay it was. So, because I've gone through the training and passed all the assessments we have to do, they said, "Well, if you don't want to join full time, do you want to do it for free?" And like a fool, I said yes.
Fair play to you, man. Massive respect.
But I really enjoy it, and I've been doing it for 10 years now. So yeah, it's been very rewarding, very eye-opening. I suppose done 10 years of the military as well, with cadet forces. I've done that for 10 years. Got the rank of lieutenant. I was a training officer. So I've got, quite a structured background behind me.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
Hence why the separate agency's been formed, which I'll go into in a second. But yes, I've had the military, being a commissioned officer by the Queen at the time. Um, you know, led a lot of
Important.
people. Yeah, been a specials inspector as well with the police too. So I had about 48 officers under my charge at one point. It's quite a lot in one station for me to look after, really. And yeah, so it's been in me all the time. That structure, that sort of discipline. Even though I'm the worst person to follow discipline half the time. If I'll go off on a tangent, I'll go off on one. And if I don't think something's right, I don't think something's right, and that's it. End
Yeah,
of.
that's cool, though, man.
And
Yeah, that's the best way to
yeah,
be, brother.
and yeah, and in the police, obviously, we uphold the law and keep the peace, and that's the main thing. But there's still discretion on some things.
Hmm.
Not not on murders. You can't go,
No.
well, you know what, he was a bit of a dick, so yeah, fine. You can't do that clearly, but there are still some discretional things that we can do, like with traffic offences, and we may decide to give a warning, verbal warning, or something like that if we don't feel we don't deem it to be a real big issue, or end up getting a ticket. It's just so there is some room for movement, but as long
Yeah,
as you're clear cut on the law and if it's black and white, if there's an offence, there's an offence. You've got to deal with it at the end of the day. So
yeah, man. Well, I'm going to keep it squeaky clean tonight.
no need. I am probably like the most unwokest police officer you ever meet.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And fair play, mate. You've been in the military and the police. That's really important jobs, man. So fair play to you.
Yeah, so what pays my bills now is because of the security clearances I obtained whilst in the NCA. I'm now work for government because I have government clearances.
Yeah,
So my day job is working for the government, and which I really enjoy. I can't go into won't go into it on here, but yeah, it's nothing underhand. So don't worry. Oh, you start stepping over your
oh,
mill, government. It's not that at all.
I want
I've
to
had to
know,
ask.
man.
Yeah, it's not exciting either. So it's nothing meaty that I can really
That's
sort
what
of
you're
milk.
told to say. That's what you're told to say. I bet you've got all the UFO
The most
files.
interesting thing I've
And
done, the most interesting thing I do is the policing. I do get involved in all sorts of incidents. The NCA, there's lots of real good stuff going on, but I definitely can't talk about that stuff. But that was very interesting stuff, and I would have stayed had they just paid me some more money.
yeah, it's insane. It's such an important job, and you
Yeah,
should
it
get
is.
paid. We need you. So it's
Yeah, I mean,
wild.
there we got men kicking a bit of leather around in the football, getting paid millions of per year, and then there's people in police and the army,
Yeah,
and in also the
fire
medical
brigade.
profession,
Yeah, yeah,
fire brigades, all even the RLNA, the sea guys, the mountain rescue, all of those, and they're all volunteers. So our sea rescue, our mountain rescue, volunteers, all of them.
yeah,
Police force is also, supported by specialist constabulary, which are volunteers. And in the NHS, we have volunteers everywhere. You have paramedic volunteers, St John's Ambulance. It's just, and in the army, you've got the TA, the reservist, which is what I was, with the cadet forces. So again, volunteers just really support the country and the important jobs.
Yeah,
And it's lovely meeting the people who do volunteer for these sort of roles because they're different breeds completely.
yeah,
And they're not tarnished by the job,
yeah. But you've got to be a
you
special
know.
person to do those jobs, I think, because they're
Exactly why
about
it's called
looking
specials.
after. Yeah, 100%. You're looking after the country. You're looking after everyone. So
Yeah, and the I mean, even when I started 10 years ago, I had never heard of I didn't know what a special was. I thought it was the PCSOs, the community police constables there. I thought they were the community guys, but they're not. They are actual police officers, and they actually turn up to your 999 calls.
yeah,
And I've actually been attacked a number of times on duty and dealt with some horrible people. So we face the same issues as any regular paid officer, and that's why I do it. Because I wouldn't want it to be any different.
mhm, yeah, yeah,
They said, "Oh well, you guys can only do school fetes and fairs." I would never be a part of that.
yeah. Yeah. Wow, man, so you get attacked, and yeah, I mean, when anyone needs help, most people, the first person you're going to call is you guys. So we need
Yeah,
you, man, and it's very important that
e
you're there.
even the fire brigade.
Fire brigade, yeah, 100%, yeah. Have you had
Yeah,
any
so
going back to the paranormal side? Have you
yeah,
had any weird paranormal encounters while working?
yes, absolutely.
Oh,
So the one that stands out for me is myself and my colleague got called to a disturbance, as it was labelled on the box. So we got called through from FCR. FCR say out sort of the guys that dish out the jobs to the officers and they prioritise it. So that's all that's when you ring 999, FCR are the ones that deal with it. So they said, yeah, can you go to this disturbance at this address in Southend? I said, yeah, we went and got there. It was a big, lovely house. It's like a townhouse. It had 3 stories to it. And it is in a very nice area of Southend as well, which I won't name, but it's a lovely area. And walked up to the front door. The guy answered. He looked quite shaken, just this little fella. And we said, like, what's happening? He goes, they're tearing the place up upstairs. I've come home and there's smashing and banging going on. I'm like, oh wow, okay. And that in policing terms is known as suspects on. We've got suspects on the premises. So my colleague was quite new to the job at the time. So I said, stay down here with, Mr. X, and I'll go and see what's going on upstairs on my own. So I drew my baton. I go up the stairs. I can't hear anything at this point, by the way. I didn't hear anything when I walked through the door. It all went quiet. So I'm now searching the first floor. Colleagues downstairs on the ground floor. I find nothing. And then I go up to the second floor. Um, I find nothing. In fact, what I find is a really tidy house. I mean, extremely tidy. I mean, this guy is not only is he clearly has a bit of money because the house is just beautiful and nice things in it as well, but everything was in its place. There was nothing on the floor, nothing smashed, nothing damaged. So I thought, oh, someone's hiding here. So I put the baton away and took my pepper spray out because I thought if someone's in this room, I'm spraying the room, shutting the door because there could be multiple people. I don't know. So you have to do what's best for you.
yeah,
So I'm now checking under the beds, and the beds were too low for a human to be under. I checked the cupboards. I checked everywhere that's possible for a human being to be. There's no fire exit at the back. No one ran downstairs. No one got in. No one climbed out the window. So I'm a bit puzzled now. So I'm thinking, okay, so I'll go downstairs and say, "There's nobody here." And the guy said, "Well, but I said, he goes, this has happened before, and there was no one here." I said, right. And I started thinking, is this guy got some issue, like a safeguarding issue that we need to consider? And he said, no, I'm telling you, it's someone, they were there. I said, well, I've checked everywhere, I'm confident there's, you're safe. There's no one here. So he goes, he didn't really like it. He felt a bit silly because he called 999. I said, don't feel silly. If you felt there was someone here, then, call us, it's what we're there for. So my colleague and I leave. We walk up to the garden gate. So it's a small path up to the garden gate. My colleague goes, "Who's that?" He looks behind him, and on the second floor, so it's three flights up, there's someone pulling the blinds back and looking down. And yet we look at the front door, and the guy's only just shut the door. And I'm like, oh. Now, I didn't see the guy, okay? I didn't see who's up there. My colleague was like, I'm telling you, Dave, someone just put, and I did see the blind move. That's all I saw.
Yeah.
I said, I'm telling you, Dave, he pulled back the blind and he looked. I said, what did he look like? He goes, it was just dark. I can't tell you what he looked like. Oh, they pulled it back and they looked out the window. I went, oh, crap, what are we going to do? So I said, right, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go back in and I'm going to have to tell the guy that I forgot something. So I knocked back on the door and the guy's answered it, looks a bit puzzled. I went, so sorry, there was one room I didn't check. Do you mind if I go and check again? He went, okay, go ahead. So I told my colleague to stay downstairs again. This time I have got my baton and now I'm proper freaked out because I know I checked every single room, every nook and cranny. And I'd done it again. There was nobody there. Nobody there. Hand on heart, nobody there. I checked every possible place a human person could hide. He, this sounds stupid. I even checked a drawer because it was a
Yeah.
big drawer. I thought, oh, could a small person wrap themselves up in? They couldn't really. Not not to shut the drawer themselves as well. That would have been possible. But I still checked it. I just didn't want any question marks.
Yeah.
So as silly as that was, but I still checked it. But again, nothing. And I went downstairs, and my colleagues now looking at me really puzzled, expecting me to come down with someone in cuffs. And I'm shaking my head at him. And he's like, so we make our apologies and we leave. And in the car, he's like white as a sheet. He says to me, and we've never spoke about ghosts or paranormal or extraterrestrial. None of us have spoken about that subject whatsoever. And he's gone, I'm telling you what I saw. And I went, I believe you. I do believe you. But, there's no one physical up there. He went, well, I don't get it. So we had to report back to FCR that we didn't, you know, no trace, as we say, no trace.
Yeah.
But we couldn't tell them what we saw because because there was no way possible for them to be there, So
What would
we
happen
did,
if you if
and
you
to,
did report that? If you did tell him that you saw something supernatural,
yeah,
paranormal, possible?
so the official line from the Home Office is that they have a category for UFO, but they don't have any categories for paranormal or ghosts or anything of the such. So there is nothing. So even if I said I think it's a ghost, they probably just put it down as a note, and nothing will happen with it
Right.
at all. It will go nowhere, which is a shame, and which is why I'm going to come to why the separate agency were formed. But and that's a shame because there's things that get captured. And I spoke to other police officers who've told me all sorts of stories about UFOs and ghosts and all sorts of things, and it happens more commonly than you realise.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know about the famous case in Southend back in when was it, 70s? The werewolf of Southend.
Oh no, but I want to know about it, man. Can
Oh,
you tell us about that?
yeah, well, Google that. I mean, there's a website you can go
Wow.
to called EssexUFO.group.
Yeah.
And on there, there's an article, like a story about the Southend werewolf. Um, and basically, in Southend Police Station, where I'm based, um, they had a guy that pretty much transformed and leapt over police cars in the yard. It escaped out of custody. He
Wow.
was leaping over cars, as the story goes. And it wasn't the first time, this guy had been, you know, uh, dealt with in that manner. Full stories on their
Wow.
website, and but
I have heard
the
this before. I have heard this story
yeah.
before.
So that's at the actual
Man.
station I'm based at, and so I wrote the article for that website I just told you about. I put it together for them because they wanted a few different stories. I thought, well, you got to put that one on, and
Yeah.
then the famous demonologists back in that time were Ed and Lorraine Warren,
Yeah.
who are American couple, who are responsible for the Conjuring films. Right,
Yeah.
so they're behind a load of books and the Conjuring films because it's their investigations that led to those films. Now, there are very different stories about this couple that they exploited their subjects, but and then they also helped them. There's conflict conflict in their motives, let's say.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to judge them. You if you want to be serious in this field and you want to do full time, you're going to have to make money. As crass as that may sound, you've got to make money, and a separate agency is going to be no different. We are going to come up with a business plan. We're going to find a way to make money, and because I want to pay my officers, and I want to pay the investment I've already invested. I've spent almost 6 grand into this project already. I want that back. I want to be able to travel now and get the money back and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so Ed and Lorraine Warren heard about this story when they came to the UK, and they contacted the family and they met up. And the guy agreed to go back to America with them to be exorcised by a Catholic priest out there, which I believe, is what happened. Now, the story goes dry after that, unfortunately. We don't know if it happened again or if it calmed down. I have left a thing on that story, actually. If anyone knows any more information, please let us know.
Yeah.
So we don't know, but we do know that the guy appeared to have transformed a number of times. It wasn't just that one time in custody.
Officers saw this happen in front of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Police officer, they're not gonna, I'm not saying the guy grew hair all over him suddenly,
Hmm.
but he apparently transformed, was able to leap over cars,
Yeah.
evading
Which.
police officers. It's just like you just, I mean, I know there's a condition called a sighted delirium,
Hmm.
which is quite dangerous. It can be fatal. Sighted delirium is cool. It's got other names today, but it's caused by a mix of drugs and alcohol. So specifically cocaine or heroin with lots of alcohol, um, and it makes you immensely strong and hot. So we know when we've got an excited delirium case because the guy would be running around naked most of the time because they burn up so much because the heart goes so fast that the body temperature rises way above safe levels, and they just
Wow.
strip. It's a natural instinct just to strip down. So if we've got a naked guy running around, we know that we've we've probably
Yeah.
got a bad case of this, and it's serious, and it will take more than 5 or 6 officers to hold this guy down because
Wow.
the strength will be amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost supernatural strength that comes from these people, and they don't even have to be big guys or girls, And I've dealt with one of those before in the back of an ambulance of all places, and it took 6 of us to control him.
Wow.
He bent the handcuffs. He bent them up. We
Wow.
in the UK we've got fixed handcuffs. They're not don't have a chain between them, so they're fixed. He bent them, and that's how
Wow.
strong they are. But
Yeah.
the reason it's fatal is because the heart can go so fast, can literally burst, can literally have a heart attack.
Man.
And also, there was a case I saw in training. I showed a video of a guy jumping off a roof who had excited delirium. He broke both his legs, his femur, his hip. He broke it all, but he ran off. He felt no pain.
Wow.
They feel no pain, so our batons would do nothing against these people.
Yeah.
Um, Handcuff them, take them to the floor. They won't feel a thing. You could like literally smash them in the head of a bat and they won't feel it. Obviously, you are going to do the damage, and it's not advisable. But
Yeah.
they just don't feel pain while they're in that state. So
That's
it's a very
wild.
serious condition to find yourself in. So, is was the werewolf of Southend in a slight delirium states?
Hmm.
I don't know. I've seen a picture of the guy. He doesn't look like someone who takes alcohol and drugs as a pastime.
Yeah.
Um, who knows? We
What
don't know. It's
was,
so long ago. We're not
do you
going
know
to
what
know the full
his
truth
what
now.
his story was? Was he like a known criminal in the area, or was he just a
No,
regular guy that just
he's a
kicked
regular
off?
guy. The only reason he got himself in trouble was because he was tearing around, frightening everybody. And yeah, he wasn't a criminal. He was just
Yeah.
a normal guy. When you you go to that website, ssufo.group,
Yeah.
look it up on there. You know, there's a picture of him,
Hmm.
and he doesn't look like the sort of guy I'd be, you know, doing that sort of thing deliberately. So yeah, so
Wow. Did
on that one that I went to, and that
yeah.
obviously that I mean we didn't hear from him again, and I do pass that house quite regularly when I'm on patrol. I'm always looking at thinking, oh, I wonder if anything's happened since, you
Go
know.
and find out, man.
Um, but I don't, you know, I have to be professional. I can't
Yeah,
knock
of
on the door and say,
course.
"Do you
Yeah.
remember a few years ago?" And I come up, you know, I think I can't do that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
been a few things like I went to a burglary recently with CID, and a lady was telling me about things keep in her room. But again, because I'm in the role of an off police officer at the time, I can't go into what I do as my
Yeah.
side thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be unprofessional, so I can't do that. It's really frustrating
Yeah.
coming
Do the
across
guys
it.
you're working with, do they know that you're into that side of things and sort of say anything about it?
Some do, some don't. Yeah. So a few know I do it, and a majority
Yeah.
don't know I do it. That said, however, I've just had the green light from our professional standards department to you know, because they have to look at it and go, well, is this a is this a conflict? And they've actually said like it's fine, you know, as a
Okay.
volunteer, they're not that bothered. But I am about to email the chief and ask about SEPI agency doing an investigation at HQ in Chelmsford. Because
Okay.
when I was there, two police officers told me about one of the blocks there, which is quite old, is having problems. Um, and they didn't know I'd done what I'd done, by the way. I was there picking up. This is going to sound very grand. I was there picking up a medal.
Wow, that's cool.
It's a true story. I
Yeah.
was picking up my long service medal at
Congratulations,
HQ
man.
on what? Thank you. On one Sunday because I thought I'd go when it's not very busy. And I went in, it was in this locker, and this police officer walked out, goes, oh, thank God, it's a real person. And he walked off. I was like, what's that about? So I walked after him. He was in a room with another colleague, and I said, oh, what's that about then? Because you wouldn't understand. I went, try me. So he told me stories about people being scared in that building on their own at night, hearing footsteps and doors banging downstairs, and it unsettles the staff there because some of the staff there are not all police officers; they're just police staff, so they're civilians. But even high-ranking police officers don't want to be in that building on their own. So
Wow.
then told them about the SEPI agency. They were both like, "You should definitely email the chief," and I said, "I'm definitely not. He's going to chuck me out." But I've since spoke to another senior officer, and he thinks, yeah, it's worth trying. He's quite a nice guy. He's quite an open book, and he'll only say no at the worst. He's not going to look at you in any bad way, especially as a separation has been set up on place and principles.
Yeah.
We follow a similar code of ethics as the police do. It's pretty much cookie cut from the police ethics. So about honesty and transparency and respect, it's all there. So we follow the same guidelines really as the police,
Yeah.
and all my officers are either have.
Oh, I've lost you there for a second, sir. Let's just stop recording. Right, we're back. We're back, brother.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, all SEPI officers either hold a government security clearance or have been DBS checked. So for those guys in the US, DBS is like a standard check, like a police check, make sure that we're not taking on people with criminal records or outstanding issues. So therefore, people when we interact with you guys,
Let's paused again.
that's okay.
Right, we're back.
All right,
They're trying to
right,
stop us
take three.
talking. They're trying to stop us talking, man. You won't stop us. We'll
Yeah.
keep going. So you're wasting your own time.
Um, yeah, as I say, all the SEPI officers have got a either hold a government clearance or have a DBS check. DBS is standard check we do the police do just to make sure there's no outstanding criminal convictions, that sort of thing. So it gives a bit of confidence then if we turn up someone's house or place of work, or that we're trained, and they're all trained as well. I train them on how to do a witness account in a very similar manner to how police will do a statement. I train them how to do what we call PIP one level interview. So we prepare interview plans and we interview somebody properly. We do it with video and audio, but it's structured just like you'd see on TV programs when the police are interviewing a suspect, for example,
Hmm.
or witness. So it's very similar, but not with the that forcefulness, because we're not there to
Yeah.
cut you out. We're not there to you haven't broken the law or anything.
Yeah.
So there's no powers being used. So although we follow a very same formula, it's for a different reason.
Yeah.
And the reason we take the witness account and do an interview is so that we are very passionate about documenting everything from day one correctly in a format that the government or courtroom would be familiar with. So one day when I go to the academia world and say, we've got waterproof and watertight evidence of a supernatural or paranormal or an extraterrestrial event, and we've done all our due diligence on it, and we've documented from day one. We've got witness accounts, we've got interviews, we've got best evidence, we've got hard evidence, physical evidence. You will know that the CP agency have got a good package there and a good case.
Yeah.
It's not woo woo. It's not woolly. Hasn't got holes in it like a Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Water pouring out the sides of it. It is a good package. And the reason I started the agency is because I've just been so disillusioned in the past from other well-meaning groups. Don't get me wrong, but they just don't really have a professional approach to these things, and they don't document stuff. They might go, "Oh, I've got a photograph, a bit of video," but they don't really do the analysis behind it all. They don't do any forensic type checking. They don't document things, and it just frustrates me because in my head, I'm like, if you want to be taken seriously, you've got to do it properly. Otherwise, you're just doing it for entertainment purposes only, you know, and I can't do that.
Hmm.
I do love it. It's something that's been calling on me since I was 6 years old, even before actually. So I do love it. I do feel there's fidelity to it. There's truth, there's untruths, um, but I think it's worth doing properly now. And that's why, coming from my military background and my policing background, I thought I'm going to use protocols, procedures, form, the whole thing that the police would do and the army have done, and train. This is why we call deputy officers. They're officers. They've got a title of the officer. Once they've been trained and they've had their DBS checks cleared, they then get their ID that I give to them, and they then become an officer, and they can then own a case, lead a case, do their interviews on their own, take statements on their own. But we also have SEPI researchers. So you can become a SEPI officer or a SEPI researcher. They're not DBS checked because they don't go somewhere. They're always with an officer,
Hmm.
um, and they don't own cases, but they can come to investigations. They can do all the same stuff. They just can't own a case and they can't conduct one on their own. But SEPI researchers have got a skill set that we specifically need. So we don't just take on anybody. So if you come to go, well, I've been a doctor for 30 years and I'm interested in this subject, definitely, you'd be a brilliant researcher. You might want to become an officer, but that's another thing. But so people come with specific skills. There could be historians, know the Bible inside and out, or know, be a subject matter expert on something. Even if it's photography, sound engineering, uh, you know, building. We need people with building skills, so we know
Hmm.
about structures and you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So we need the officers to do the to do the investigation work, the para investigative questions and pushing it and owning the cases. And we need the researchers to be able to go, yeah, I'll go and look into that for you. I'll find an answer for you. So we've got two different streams within the SEPI agency. Um, but yeah, that's why, I mean, some people may accuse me of, like, well, it sounds a bit egotistic, you're given titles, because obviously I've got a different title. I'm the founder and I'm the senior executive officer. But I've always, what I've realised being in the army and police is that without a structure and a
Hmm.
clear hierarchy, it just falls to bits.
Yeah.
Um, so when you join as you say like you want to join as SEPI officer, you become a potential SEPI officer first. So whilst you're in the middle of your training, so you're PSO. Once you're trained and you get your ID badge and you can wear the shield, which is on my people can't see on the radio, but it's on my
Yeah. That's
polo
cool,
shirt.
man. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's very good. I designed all that.
Awesome, man.
But once you've got the shield, then you become an SO, so a SEPI officer. Then above that, once we get more people, we'll have senior SEPI officers, so SSOs. And then above that is me at the moment, but I may put like a middle one in between that once it gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And the reason is it's not for egotistical reasons. It one gives people things to aim for, but two, the most important thing is safeguarding. So a SEPI officer will know that he's got a senior person to go to when he's in a bit of trouble or needs a bit of support. No, he or she will just know that they're who to speak to next. And SEPI is going to be branching out, not just here in the UK. We want SEPI branches all over the world. So having that rank structure and that hierarchy is vital for the well-being and safeguarding of the actual members of the officers, I feel. And safeguarding is one of the other things that we're very passionate about as well. And I'll give you an example. I went to a lady's address about a haunting. So I sat there doing the witness account with her, which we always record, by the way, unlike police, because they're not allowed to record statements, but we do for our own safeguarding.
Yeah.
So I've gone there and I've spent 2.5 hours there. I've measured the rooms, I've done stuff with my equipment and taken the account from her. And on the back page, there's the personal stuff about, your name, address, any previous names, occupation. That's on the back page. It's what we call a non-disclosure form. Um, anyway, found nothing there, but I did get very suspicious about, you know, yeah, probably not a haunting, let's put it that way. I'll leave it there. But yeah, a few days later, she contacted me because what I do is then I send that witness account back to them as a PDF just to sign off. And their sign off is just reading it and let me know via email that they're okay with it. So she sent it back going, "Oh, I did you use a police system to find out my former names?" I was like, "Absolutely not. That would lose me my position and my warrant card immediately.
Yeah.
I'd never ever use a police system for something like that for any personal use." I said, "No, absolutely not." She goes, "Well, I don't remember giving you my names." I went, "You certainly did. I asked you the question and you gave me three different names, which I recorded on the statement and on the audio tape that was running." I said, "Would you like to listen to it?" "Oh, no. Okay. I must have forgot." "Yeah, you did forget."
Ah.
See
Yeah.
how dangerous that can be.
Yeah, man. And she could have got
If
you
we,
in a
if
lot
we,
of trouble there.
yeah, if I hadn't recorded it,
Yeah.
then she could have reported me. I mean, they would have found nothing because they know if you've looked. They would have
Yeah.
found nothing, but they would have still suspended me in the meantime.
Yeah. And it's not a nice thing. Yeah, of course.
No, it's not a nice thing to go through
Man.
because once you got people like that on your back, they'll go through a fine tooth comb, as they well should do too.
Yeah.
Not faulting that. But had I not recorded it, so we always record everything when we have that interaction, even if there's two of us,
Yeah.
we'll record it because we just don't want and it's for the subject's safety too. Maybe someone comes through as a SEPI officer that does say something inappropriate, and then when I review that and I see that, I can stamp that out immediately,
Yeah.
and that person will be gone in a flash. So works both ways, but
So
so I don't know of any other power investigation group that work in this manner.
yeah, no, I've never
Um,
heard. See, you're using the police structure, which
yeah,
it makes a lot of sense, man. Because as you say, if you want to prove something in court, you need that evidence. You need to be able to show that evidence. So you're doing it that exact
yeah,
way.
and I'm giving it in a format they're familiar with,
Yeah.
so it's easy for them to digest and go, right, yeah, we get that, we understand that, we understand the best evidence that you've and how you've done it. So yeah, so it's going to be hopefully a familiar playing field
Yeah,
for that when that day comes, that we can go, we've got something amazing, and you can no longer keep fobbing these people off with weather balloons and fog and
yeah,
all this silly stuff that they keep saying.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the tide turning lately, Tommy, but there's definitely been a change in acceptance on the
100%.
subject.
100%. Yeah, massively, man. Even in the like, because
So, I mean,
I've been
some of
into
it is
this.
false flags.
Yeah, sorry, man. I
Um,
was going to say, even in the short space that I've been really looking into this stuff, I've seen a massive change with acceptance, with people, feeling okay to come out and sharing their experiences. I feel like it's most people you talk to have had some sort of paranormal experience. It's very rare to meet someone that's
yeah,
not
absolutely.
experienced anything, and people are happy to share it
Yeah,
now. It seems.
yeah. Uh, and most people do. I mean, you'd be surprised, the people that we'd class as working professionals
Hmm.
who just don't talk about this stuff. They've had experiences, especially nurses. They see all sorts of things when
Yeah.
doing that palliative care wards, and they see obviously a lot of people pass away. Um, and the things that the people that are passing away say and the things they see, I'm no longer happy to accept things as hallucinations by the medical profession. Um, I'm now challenging the medical profession to relook at what hallucinations and voices in the head are, because I'm not happy with their explanation of, oh, it's just hallucination, it's just voices. Absolutely not. It's
Hmm.
absolute nonsense to just say that and dismiss people of that thing.
Yeah.
Which brings me to one of the CEPI's hypotheses that we're working on, which we will class as an open investigation. So CEPI are not just as an investigation arm, we also look at pushing out brand new theories as well, brand new hypotheses, which at this stage are speculative, of course, but as an open, we create it as an open investigation, and we'll work very hard to 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 gather the evidence for it and put some actual substance behind it, rather than just
Hmm.
say, "This is my new flaky idea. What do you think?" I'm not about that. So so one of the things that we're trying to push forwards, which would be not new to many people, is what we call EDE, which is extra dimensional entities. So for thousands of years, maybe even millions of years, there's been an undercurrent of entity that's existed on this planet, maybe way before we even existed, before we were planted here, let's say. And that's a whole nother story
Yeah.
for another day. I'm really big into ancient history, by the way,
Oh
very big
man, me
geek on
too.
it. So,
Yeah, no, me too,
yeah,
brother. We can talk about
so
that all night.
yeah, definitely. So that's definitely a big subject, but avoiding that for now, these things have been around a long time, and they're probably very peeved that we come along at first before they realise that when we all got altered and changed and become this slave race that we now seem to be, they realize that the negative energies that feed them, that low vibration, is abundant in us. I mean, everyone's got the ump about something, depressed or suicidal, or there's the mental health issue is just rife and getting worse. And these things, these EDEs, these entities, absolutely thrive on it. Um, and some people may have called them in the religious circles as demons. And so I don't like to call them demons because you're empowering them, and that's the wrong thing to do with these things. As soon as you say the word demon, it almost gives a fear factor to it. So if I came around your house and I went, "Oh, I think you've got a demon," you're going to absolutely drop a large one and run out of the house, aren't you? But
Yeah.
if I said to you, "I suspect it to be an EDE," it doesn't sound so frightening.
Hmm.
But it's the same entity, it's the same thing. However, it's not Lucifer. All right,
Yeah.
it's not the devil. Um, so the EDEs exist on a vibration different to ours, which is why we don't see them on our five senses. But they have learned, because they've been here, like I say, a long, long time. They've learned the art of coming in and out and manipulating this realm, and people, especially people. I've heard that they encapsulating objects too, but I don't know on that one. Okay, I'm not sold on that quite yet. And places like Ed and Lorraine Warren say that possessions happen to people and places. Maybe, and there's a actually quite a scientific reason why it could be a place actually, which I'll come to later maybe. But so maybe it is people and places, but certainly in people. So imagine then, if you will, that you've gone through life quite happy as Larry. Something traumatic happens to you one day. Maybe you lost a loved one that you weren't expecting to go, and it's affected you badly. And then you just go on a what's a downward spiral. You're depressed. You become isolated. You start overeating. Or drinking too much, or start taking drugs, or something that really is not good for you and is not doing you any world of good. And your health then starts to get affected, and your relationships start to get affected, and you just become an recluse. You don't want to see people, and you start then maybe hearing voices, or you start having suicidal thoughts, or this is not an uncommon story, unfortunately, in this world for any country.
Yeah.
Um, and you just think, oh, what's the point? And especially if you're hearing the voices, they're the first thing you need to understand if you are in that situation and find yourself there. First thing you need to understand, it's not your fault. Okay, what happened to you was because, unfortunately, at the time of the traumatic experience, all the time you asked them to be there, and I'll come to that in a minute. That's also a fascinating facet of this story. Um, but the moment they are in you, you will go downhill, and because they want you in that perpetual state of depression and negativity. Um, you may become a more of a sarcastic. I mean, I'm very sarcastic, but more of a really sort of negative, sarcastic person.
Hmm.
Everything's no, that's rubbish, that's rubbish, that's rubbish. Everything,
Yeah.
because the more you're like that, the more they feed, and the more they exist, and they may have multiple victims. I call them victims because you are, if you've got an EDE, an attachment. That's another word, I suppose, for it. It is an attachment. EDs exist around, but they can attach to
Hmm.
people. Therefore, it's an ED attachment. And then obviously we have commit crime because they hear voices. Heinous crimes, murder, manslaughter, kidnapping, all sorts of really terrible things. Um, and they say, oh, the devil made me do it, Jesus made me do it, the voices in my head made me do it. Diminished responsibility. I mean, I quote, there's a great Netflix documentary called The Devil on Trial you must watch.
Yeah.
It's about the Gratzel family back in 1980, where their son, who was only 11 years old, was possessed apparently by a demon. Um, the Ed and Lorraine Warren got involved because they come from a very Catholic background, the pair of them got a Catholic upbringing. Their way to dealing with things back there in the 70s and 80s was exorcism. So they came along, they documented it, and said, "Yeah, your child's possessed." Because the kid was having fits and seizures, and shouting at his mum and like swearing and all sorts of things out of character. So I'll cut down the whole story very shortly, but they eventually get permission from the Catholic Church to get him exorcised. So they drag him off to this church, poor sod, 11-year-old boy. Um, drag him to this church. He's got a priest there doing his family around him. He's got his sister. He's got his sister's boyfriend called Arn. Um, maybe a few other people, don't remember all the names, but they're all there. And Arn, who's 19 years old, is quite disturbed by what he's seen. Poor old David, 11-year-old boy, is kicking, screaming, biting, demonic voices. He's proper like concerned that poor old David's going to end up harmed. So Arn does the one thing you should never do, and he takes on the entity by shouting, take me on, have me, you know, um, take me. And then even Ed and Lorraine said, no, you should never do that. At that point, David calmed down and all seemed to be well and all appeared to be, oh, the exorcism worked then, did it? Roll on 6 months. So all is calm 6 months later. Arn and his girlfriend, which is David's sister, are in their house. Their friend Tony's there. Um, no day unusual. The next thing you know, Arn wakes up from passing out, covered in blood, and he's murdered his friend Tony, stabbed him to death. He's in a police cell. He has no idea how he got there. All he remembers was he said he felt like something was taking him over and it went dark. So this CDE jumped to Arn because he allowed him to. He opened his free will. And then because EDEs don't have the same concept of time and space as we do, to the EDE, it could have been the very next moment that he made Arn commit murder.
Yeah.
But in our reality, it was 6 months later. But in our reality, it could be years later that they will come to you again. So
Interesting.
I, yeah, and so this guy obviously went to obviously court, um, being charged for murder. And the documentary is called Devil on Trial because I think it was the first time that the devil was used as a defense case back in the 80s there. Um, and yeah, it was all over the TV. There's been books written on the matter. A film was based on it too, one of the Conjuring films, I think it was. It's a big thing, and obviously the Netflix documentary is really good because I think if I remember rightly, they actually speak to Arn as well and David Glatzel. Um, and he, maintains that he doesn't remember a thing. He didn't kill his friend Tony. But there's other things. Oh, the Glaxall's mother was putting things in their food apparently, like a sleeping pill, make the kids sleepy. So there's all sorts of different angles that all need to be listened to clearly.
Yeah.
But I believe that case does demonstrate that these things do exist. They have no idea or concept of time. And I strongly believe, and I don't wish to put down the Catholic Church's work in exorcism, because I'm sure they've helped some people, but I've got a very horrible suspicion that their efforts are in vain because these things come back. The exorcism doesn't work. If anything, it makes them worse. And they may go, you know what, I'll come back for you, and it'll be worse. And I don't know if you're aware, but the Catholic Church don't allow video recording of exorcisms.
Okay. Yeah.
um,
I wasn't
which
sure on that.
intrigues me because I'm kind of thinking, so is it someone just having a seizure and you're making it out to be a spiritual possession, or have you actually seen something that you can't explain, don't want people seeing? Either way, it needs looking at.
Yeah.
Um, and
So
the
do you?
CPHC are going to take a different angle now. We're not going to, if we take on somebody that is hearing the voices in the head and in that state, and the doctors have not helped, the drugs are not working, come to us and we'll do things very differently. I'm not promising you we can change your life, but the first point is that we need to change your life.
Mm, yeah.
Because the one thing an EDE wants from you is your negativity and your depression. Because that poor old Arn spent 5 years in prison. So that EDE probably fed from him for further 5 years, because prison can't be a nice place, right?
Hmm.
So, and he maybe to this day, who knows? Maybe it never really left him. I mean, it must be a hard thing to know that you've murdered somebody. That can't be an easy thing to get your head around,
Yeah, for
especially if you
sure.
feel that it wasn't you.
Yeah.
So
So would
it's
would
it's
you
got a
say
lot.
that a lot of people that do these terrible crimes that we can't even imagine what's in their head to do that crime? Do you think in a lot of these
Mm.
cases these are people that have got some sort of dark attachment that is causing them to do this?
Yeah, I'm not saying all of them because obviously there are those that are very manipulative and will lie to get out of anything. I'm not
Hmm.
dismissing that as a possibility too, but I certainly do feel there are people in jail to this day that have been put there by an EDA.
Hmm.
Absolutely have been. And there's a
Yeah.
guy in America, and I really I should need to write his name down for my notes so I can quote his name, but he's a psychologist that works in an American jail 30 years. And I've seen his podcasts and he talks very clearly that he's convinced they're EDEs. He knows how they work. And everything I'm saying to you now is everything he said too. So
Mm.
all my thoughts he backs up basically. And he gave me a bit more to work on too. And I will contact that guy because I do need to speak to him. um, because he's convinced he speaks to prisoners, to very dangerous prisoners, as a day job.
Yeah.
Um, and he said he spoke to EDEs through the prisoner directly,
Wow.
you know, I mean, look at schizophrenia, which is an
Yeah, I was
umbrella
just
term,
gonna say that. Yeah.
and the multiple personality disorders you have. We got to look at those. If the pills are not working, and I'm no doctor, so don't quote me on like, oh, I heard Dave Vaughan talk about it, so I'm not going to take my medication anymore. Please don't quote. You know, this is not me saying don't take your medicine. I'm not a doctor. But if the pills aren't doing anything and it's never getting better, all it's doing is just suppressing you, then why are we not looking at an alternative theory? Why is it so hard for the medical profession to get out of their books that are 100 years old by now, get their heads out of that space and start looking at the future, the real possibilities of that we're not alone, not only in this universe, but in this dimension? They've got to. And I am so passionate about this because I really feel that once the CEPI agency have got good evidence to badger the medical profession over, we could save lives.
Yeah.
We could turn people's lives around. We don't have to live in this perpetual state of depression. If only you knew what was doing it.
Yeah.
So I say to anybody out there that feels that way, it's not your fault. It could be an EDE. All right. And the best way to start battling it is not through crucifixes and holy water. It's by, first of all, looking at yourself and going, what do I need to change to stop being food for these things? I.e., how do I get myself happier
Hmm.
in a better space, a better frame of mind? Does it mean I've got to give up the drugs or the drink, or have I got to look after my weight? You know, start exercising. And does it, or maybe is it the disastrous relationships I keep bouncing from one to another? I've got to stop this. Is it the family member that brings me down? Is it work that brings me down? It'll be something that triggers you often that you've got to identify, which the CEPI agency will happily talk to that person over because we're documenting it all down, and then we make recommendations. Go, well, okay, you've said about this relationship being so toxic. Like, why are you in it? Oh, because I love her or I love him. Yeah, but it's keeping you in the worst space. You're not your best self, are you? So you got to look at really. So it's not a quick fix,
Yeah.
not like an exorcism. I can't drag you into a room, say something in Latin, and you walk out a happy person. It doesn't work that way. Um,
Can I
and why
ask
they
you
do it
what?
in Latin, I just
Yeah.
don't know.
Can I ask you? So, how long has SEPI agency been going for now?
So we're very young in concept. I only started it in August last year.
Okay.
So we're not even a year old. But I've already done YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, website. I've written policies. You know, we've done a lot. I've spent a lot of money on equipment, like recording equipment and just gadgets that we need. And I don't mean ghost boxes and silly stuff like that. I mean proper gadgets that measure normal stuff. Because I'm not into um entertainment boxes.
Hmm.
Um, and I've said this in another podcast interview that I I'm not a big believer in spirit boxes, and I'd challenge anybody that sells them to send me their source code. I was an web programmer. I can read programming. So send me the source code of your box so I can see how it works. Because I bet there's algorithms in there that are picking up your voices. I bet there's a microphone hidden in some of those boxes that are picking up your names and voices and just regurgitating it out later on through a silly voice. I'm not bought on it. You know, if anyone goes, well, you know, I rely on it and it's fantastic, then I'm open to be challenged. I'm open to be proven wrong. Absolutely. Because that's what progress is all about.
Yeah.
It's accepting that you can't always be right. And and the separate agency as well, it's one of the ethoses we go by. We're open to be challenged. We're open to be proven wrong. But you're going to have to be really good at proving us wrong because we are so we go very deep. We literally, you can't say this spirit box works, but then don't give me the source code or the firmware information,
Yeah.
or don't expect me to tear it to bits to see what has gone in the circuit board, because we will. We'll tear those things to bits and demand the source code. And anyone that makes those spirit boxes and is not happy to give source code, then there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And those other boxes that see stick men in thin air. Come on.
Not having that.
Um, look, these phones are not made for catching ghosts. Don't care what app you got on it, can't do it. Can't even
Yeah.
tell you the temperature in the room, let alone find
Yeah.
a ghost.
Yeah. They're pretty
It can tell you
good,
the
but
temperature
they can't do
outside.
everything. Yeah.
No, can't. That
True,
phone
man.
can't tell me how hot it is in here right now.
True.
Got no temperature gauge in it, so don't tell me that it can find a ghost. It
Yeah.
can't. Okay, just and if you again, I'm open for challenge. Go
Yeah.
ahead,
Well, that's
because
cool.
I'll
That's
create
how it
that as
should
a
be. Yeah.
yeah,
That's,
and that's how science should be.
mhm.
And it's not. Science is now about how can I protect my income?
Yeah.
How can I
Yeah.
protect my funding for next year by doing mainstream stuff?
Hmm.
And that's not the way forward. Science is supposed to push the boundaries and, you know, advance us as a species. That's where we should be. We should be in flying cars by now, quite frankly. We should be having 0 point energies um, powering our homes. We shouldn't
Hmm.
be relying on electric companies. That
Yeah.
that that technology was invented 100 years ago, and it still gets invented by people in their back sheds. To this day, it happens. And the moment the patent office hears about it or some other authority, they're
Yeah.
spirited away, or their lab burns down, their shed burns down, or
Yeah.
they get threatened, or and Dr. Stephen Greer's his recent film is all about that. Go watch it on Prime, I think it is.
Yeah.
Um, the for, the Forbidden something is called. What is it now? This Forbidden Civilization or Technology? I can't quite remember, but
We'll
I'll
check that
remember in a
out.
minute. But
If or
that's his
certainly
latest one. But
if it doesn't make the powers that be money, they're not gonna stand for it, which is wrong. You know,
it's about the control.
we
I
should be
mean,
looking.
Nikola Tesla. Look at him. He died a poor mad man in people's eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a few of his books that thick indoors, and an amazing guy. And he did have a talent. I do question where that talent came from. I do wonder if it's gifted by an EDE
Yeah.
in exchange for his lifestyle, i.e., being isolated. He never married, he never had children, and he died in a hotel room in love with a pigeon. True story.
Really, I didn't know that.
So yeah, he fell in love with a pigeon that came to he, or his apartment after he used to feed it. He said he had real love for the pigeon. So
Oh wow.
and this is the guy that could build an engine in his mind before he did it in real life.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean, what an incredible. Like, I'd love to talk to him. I mean, I wouldn't understand half of
mhm.
how he's got to where he got to, but it'd be very interesting, man.
Oh yeah, and he was totally exploited. I mean, Marconi took the credit for radio here in Chelmsford in the UK. Chelmsford town says the birthplace of radio. No, it wasn't. It was
Really?
Nikola Tesla.
Wow.
Fluorescent tubing, radars, X-rays,
Yeah.
um, machines that could cause waves, big tidal waves. Strangely enough, a
Yeah.
death ray could shoot down missiles. The death ray was invented for protection to bring peace, is his intention. Because his idea was if every country had a death ray that was capable of shooting down any missile, then no one would bother launching missiles and
Yeah.
nobody need to go to war. So he built it as a peace device, but unfortunately,
They want
it's
more,
not
man.
been used as a peace device. No, it's been stolen by whoever in that country.
Yeah.
He lived in
Yeah.
America at the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Isn't there, I mean, I might not be getting this right, but isn't it something to do with Trump's uncle or something or dad, something like that,
mm,
was a part of um doing something with was it his flat or was it his hotel room? I'm not sure, but taking away his
Yeah, well,
work.
when he died, I think it was Trump's uncle that was in the Secret Service, I think, and he's part of one of the guys that took the stuff away. I think he managed to get some machines or notes away. And
Yeah, that's it.
apparently, and this is a massive apparently,
Yeah.
Trump's are time travelers now because of that
Yeah,
technology.
that's yeah, man. I mean, it's weird, isn't it?
I don't know.
How Trump
Yeah.
like we know what Trump is now, but how his family have made that big impact as well. Like it's
Well,
wild, really.
I mean, I've never known a president to go for a second term and look quite strong at the possibility.
Yeah.
Does he know things? Does he has he closed off alternative pathways? It doesn't not happen for him. Is
Yeah.
he going to get off of all these court cases because he knows exactly how he's going to get out of them?
Yeah.
That's why he always looks
And
relaxed.
he did spit up he set up the space military as well, whatever that's called.
Yeah. Oh yeah, God, that's
So
oh
I
yeah.
mean, he set that up. Um,
He did, but I do question that. I mean, you know, so is Trump a savior? I don't know. He wouldn't be my cup of tea. However, the others are probably are just as are worse, far worse.
I think they're
What
all. I
options you
think they're
got?
all. I think they're all dodgy, to be honest.
They're
And
all dodgy. Yeah.
I
I
don't
promised myself
really.
I won't go onto the government here.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna happen, man.
I'm
You're
not
on
going to
the.
go into the government
You're
anymore.
on. Let's get freaky. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah. So
But
getting back to EDEs, okay.
yeah,
So how do they come? So yes, it can be through trauma, but also you can inadvertently summon them yourself. So you could be playing around with a Ouija board, or you could be trying to impress some girl by saying, "Oh, I can call I can make the door knock or something," or you could be doing some ghost game, some silly thing,
hmm,
unknowingly allowing your free will to be opened at that point, because you
yeah,
probably don't know what you're doing really, especially with Ouija boards. You're proper summoning something at those points. And if you don't know what you're doing now to close things, you're endangering yourself.
yep,
You not only that, look at celebrities. So imagine yourself as a struggling celebrity, you're an actor, you think, I'm going to do really well. You give up your life in wherever else you come from, Texas or wherever else. You've gone to Hollywood, and it's not all bed of roses that you imagined, and the path is not paved in gold. It's actually paved in alcohol and poo, because I've been there. It's not very nice, some of it. Um, and then you just end up in a corner of your apartment, which is probably like 2 rooms in a really dodgy town in Skid Row or something, just crying to yourself, going, I'll do anything for this, anything, whatever it takes, I will give it. You are then making a contract. You are then giving away your own free will. And you will then start getting those parts. You'll start getting the phone calls and you'll be like, God, I've been doing this for 6, 7 years and nothing, and now suddenly it's happening for me. And it'd be like a snowball effect. You suddenly get all of the attention that you desired and all the parts that you wanted and a good agent and all the ass kissing that goes along with that. Because that
yeah.
world is so false and fake, it's unbelievable.
Oh man, yeah.
And I know I'm a failed musician. I know the pain. So So this is for, actors and musicians and, magicians and all sorts of things, comedians, anybody in the entertainment industry. If you go and do that and you suddenly find yourself getting quite successful, but you won't, in the moment, you won't know what's happening because it's suddenly you worked so hard for it. You've done everything you could and you're so desperate that you just gave away the one thing that we should never give away, your free will. That's the
Yeah,
strongest thing that we have as humans: love and free will. Because free will can't love either. You can't say that person's got to love me.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
doesn't work.
yeah.
That's how you know they're the two strongest powers
Well,
in the universe.
yeah.
You cannot give your free will away, and no matter what. You can become as successful as a musician or actor by being talented. Okay, you can do it, but these people, I think, give away their souls at some point.
Well,
And
that's
I've
it's.
seen,
Sorry, man.
gone,
You say you say what have you seen?
well, I've seen celebrities say on film on the day they'd sold their souls. And they do it tongue in cheek. It's like, you're not doing it tongue in cheek, are you? You know damn well what you've done.
Yeah, yeah,
You went to that weird party where that weird bloke got you in that weird room and you took those drugs and then you done something, you said something, and that person's probably a facilitator. He knew damn well what he's doing to you, right?
yeah,
And the sex parties and all that stuff is all part of manipulating you into that point where you then give yourself over.
yeah,
So you don't get the devil appear in front of you in a red cloak and horns and go, So do you want to sign this bit of paper and yeah, I'll make you a lot famous? Oh yeah, cheers. Can I call you Dev? Is that all right? It doesn't go that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, no, it's not Dev. It's not. Um, doesn't
Yeah, man.
work that way. It works how I've just explained it. Now,
Well, the
let's take
conspiracies
example.
of Hollywood. I mean, what you're saying,
Look
we
at
all there's a lot of celebrities out there at the moment that you could probably um there's a lot of evidence towards that. That's for sure. We'll
yeah,
say.
there is,
Yeah.
sadly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look at poor Robin Williams. What an incredible actor that man was.
Oh
You
man. Yeah.
know, just walk in a room and I bet everybody would just stop for that man
Hmm.
and just wait for him to talk. Because even when he just talked, he just had it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that's how it was for him all the time before Mork and Mindy sort of made him big, and really got his break. How did he get that part? What state was he in at before that? How was he struggling? But unfortunately, the guy remained in struggle for the rest of his career and life. And look at how he ended himself. It's just the
Yeah.
saddest thing. It breaks my heart to know that he had the world at his feet, millions of dollars in the bank, probably any home he could choose to desire. Had it all, but he's probably felt the most loneliest and secluded person in his head when he
Mm.
didn't need to be. He had love all around him, even.
Yeah,
People loved
man.
that man, and
Oh
that his
man, I
friends
remember
and family.
when I'm even for me, he was just a fan of his work. When he passed,
Yeah,
man, I was like, yeah, obviously, when a celebrity dies, you hear it and you're like, oh man, that's terrible, and you carry on. But I remember seeing that and just being like so shocked and like,
yeah.
I wanted to cry,
There's
man.
too
Yeah, it was
many
it
of
was
them.
heartbreaking.
There's too many of them. Kurt Cobain, and the list could go on about
Yeah.
how many celebrities have just ended themselves when
Mm.
really they're at the feet. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nonsense at all. So the EDE obviously got to some point where it goes, well, now's the time. Now you've got. I've given you all this. I
Hmm.
made those phone calls happen. I got that money in your bank. I gave you your talent, maybe in some cases. Um, I want my repayment. You might think, well, why would the ED want to kill somebody? Because then there's a food source gone. But it's just another chalked up win. They go to the next one because there's so many of us. So it's like, yeah, that's another one gone. Next, they don't care. They have no feelings about
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So is there any good news in this? Yes. So if you are a famous person in any genre and you feel, God, that's me, I want to commit suicide daily on a daily basis, and I don't have any real friends, and I'm doing too much drugs, too much drink, or your life sucks, even though you've got millions in the bank and live in a beautiful place, but you're not happy. Something is inside you still not happy. Then there is something you can do. You can break the contract, and you can come to the CP agency, and we'll happily go through it with you. But it's quite simple, okay? But it's hard actually, but it's a simple. The concept's simple, but it's hard to do. So here's the thing. So once you've gone through any kind of ceremony that you want, that you feel comfortable with, doesn't have to be like a black magic thing or grand thing at all. It can just be where you go, I no longer consent for you to be in me. I no longer give you consent. I am a sovereign person on my own free will, and I take back my own free will. I don't need I don't need you, I don't give you permission anymore. That moment then, and you acknowledge what an EDE is. So you've read my article on my website. You got right in my head. I know what an EDE is now. It's not a demon. Okay, cool with that. And you break your contract. You can then have to start on things that are going to make you happier. Okay, but I will tell you this now. Your phone calls or your record deals may then kind of dry up, strangely. So that's the deal.
Yeah.
Okay, they can no longer serve you if you get rid of them. But it doesn't mean you lose all the money in your bank. Doesn't mean that you lose your home. It doesn't really lose that you're famous because you're already famous. People are always going to know who you are. But you may not continue maybe in that next new album or that next new film. So you've got to really think, oh, I want my happiness back. I'm happy to just, you know, I'm content in my life right now.
Yeah.
and
Which is the
that's
most
breaking the
important
contract.
thing. Your own
It is
happiness.
because you can have all the money in the world, but if you haven't got your health, you've got
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like Steve
Yeah.
Jobs, billionaire, didn't live that long, poor guy.
Hmm.
He didn't have his health. Like it doesn't mean a thing, And
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, if you've got millions in the bank or billions in the bank and you're not happy, and you feel that you've had a lot of luck, a lot of weird luck, how lucky are you? No such thing as luck, I'm afraid, my friends. It's all contrived. And they say,
Interesting.
oh, you make your own luck. Yeah, you can make your own luck, but so can an EDE, unfortunately. So you can break the contract, you can still be you,
Hmm.
but you will have to pay a bit of a price. And that way it will be probably the career will kind of dry up a bit, you know. Just
Yeah.
you just you gotta weigh up what's best for you.
Yeah.
If you're happy being depressed and lonely, but a successful millionaire, then crack on, But if you're not, then there's help
Yeah.
out there. You got to
I
just
I have to say
find
I've
it.
I've I've known some very rich people before, and I'm not saying all rich people are not happy, like super rich people. I'm not saying that because I don't know, I don't know. But I have met some extremely rich people that are not happy.
Yeah.
It's not everything. Money's not
And
everything.
yeah, I mean, and I've just used celebrity as an example. It's not just celebrity, it's in business as well.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can literally do the same thing and become a successful businessman.
yeah,
And like you just said, multimillionaires are not happy.
yeah,
It happens. You and I, who probably all our lives is just kind of ticking along, getting, paying our taxes and the bills. But if we suddenly come into millions, we'd be probably extremely happy.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it'd bring its
yeah.
own problems, but at the end of the day, you still go, I'm a
I'll,
millionaire.
I'll take it. I'll take them problems on me.
Because we've got a different mindset to it now. We've got a different mindset, and especially if you're fully aware of the danger of EDEs, if you're fully aware of them, they can't touch you.
Yeah.
They can try, and they do
Mhm.
try, but they can't touch you. I myself have had two extracted this week from me that I've had
Oh,
all my
wow.
life.
This
I
week.
went to this week. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel about shamanic practices.
I've heard of it.
Um,
Can you just explain what that is? I have heard that.
So shamanic is like the native Indian
Hmm.
practices of healing and spirituality and talking to spirit guides, all this sort of good stuff. It really blows your mind when you look into it deeply. But you get shamanic healers all over the world now, and I've got one who's up the road from me, and they are actually really good at tracking down any hidden EDE within you and extracting it into an object, and then they take the object and they do a ceremony to get rid of it to release it again. You can't kill these things; you can just have to release them. Uh,
Okay.
and I and there's me preaching the thing about EDEs. You've got to be happy, blah blah blah. And they can't touch you. And I too sitting in within me, but that's because I had been there at a time in my life when I was probably very low and down, and I just didn't do the one thing to get rid of them. And now I have
So
this
that
week. I've
and that was
done it.
this week.
Done it. I feel a lot lighter. Just
Wow. So can
yeah.
you can
So
you explain the process of that? Was
well, yeah.
I mean that might be difficult.
It took. It is difficult because it took 3.5 hours.
Okay.
It's like going to counselling. She asked me lots of questions about my life and the things I've been through, and my expectations of my future self. How I want to see. She's gave me some brilliant feedback on CEPI agency. She 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 does this right up before you even turn up. She knows stuff about you. They get a feeling. They go through a little thing themselves. And she's writing about, oh, I know about the CEPI agency. Goes, just keep going. She said, people will criticize, but you're on the right track, and the spirits are telling you to keep going, and they're giving you a gift of a lantern that never goes out, apparently. So I'm a light in the darkness.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so you go through like a counselling phase with her, and
Hmm.
then you go through her or him, by the way, and then you go through like this sort of ritual she goes through, and it can be some chanting going on, banging of drums, waving smoke at you. And even for me, I'm a bit like, oh, this is a bit weird. I'm not comfortable with something because I'm not used to it. she was making all sorts of funny noises, and but I was getting emotional. I was crying. Um, I saw my 6-year-old self because something happened to me at 6 years old in my mind, and I'm not one to imagine things. When people go, close your eyes, imagine yourself in a meadow. I can't do that. I fight, I struggle.
Yeah.
But I saw myself in this little dark room, a little 6-year-old kid crawled, you know, bundled up in the ball. Um,
Wow.
I hugged him. I just cried. It's just a weird
Wow, man.
experience,
I
and I'm
won't ask you
so
what
very
happened
thankful for
when
it.
you was I won't ask you what happened when you were six, but it might be personal. You might not want to share that. But
And I
was
will.
this okay? Was this attachment from then?
So the 6-year-old thing, it's not what you think. It's not. It wasn't a trauma that happened to me. It wasn't a neglect or an abuse situation. Um, when I was six, and I think I was six because it happened before my brother was born, and I'm 7 years older than him. So my dad would put me to bed every night. We lived in a maisonette, which is just like 2 rooms downstairs, which is a kitchen, front room, hallway, stairs up, 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. It's a very small maisonette. And above that was another building of the same configuration. And it was on the council estate here in Essex. So my mum and dad didn't have a lot of money. And that's where we lived. And as a 6-year-old, no different. You're quite happy. So dad's put me to bed. And like any other kid, I was scared of the dark. So he'd always leave the hallway light on. And I'd always see the rim of the light through the closed door. Because, the door doesn't, it's not watertight, is it? It doesn't. So I could always see him standing there for a few minutes before he'd go downstairs because I see his shadow of his feet under the door. But this particular night, he never went. And he didn't seem to go for a long, long time. Just stood there and stood there to the point I was thinking, I can't sleep because I don't know what's going on here. So I got brave. I got out of bed and I opened the door, which took me. I see myself doing it now. I had to sort of really, I struggled to open the door because I didn't want to get told off. But when I opened the door, he wasn't there. But the shadows were there the moment I opened the door. They're gone. So I was like, okay, I'm 6 years old, so I'm not sure what I thought at that point. But that wasn't the weird thing. That wasn't even the nearest the weird thing. The weird thing next was the fact that I felt static electricity in the air. Didn't know what it was at 6 years old, but I know what it is now. But it was static electricity because the hairs on my arms were sticking up. There was a weird smell in the air, which I'll come to in a minute, because I didn't know what that was at the time. And I kept getting this impulse to walk out over the stairs and not down them, meaning I'd have to step into thin air, meaning I'm going to fall down the stairs and hurt myself. Now, downstairs, all the lights are off, so I know it's now really late because my mum and dad must have been in bed. And I've got this, it kept telling me, just step out, step out. And I'm like, no, I'm going to fall down the stairs. I'll go down the stairs. No, step out. And like a scene out of Indiana Jones at the Holy Grail, when he goes over that canyon that you can't see, there's a bridge. He says, doesn't he, in the film, to take a leap of faith. That's me as a 6-year-old on top of stairs on a masonette. I step out and I don't fall. I take the next step, I still don't fall. I take a first step, I still don't fall. I now look down and I realise I'm levitating above the stairs. And I'm now like, oh, I'm not falling. I now realise I'm being pulled towards the wall. I'm not stepping anymore, I'm being pulled. So the ceiling obviously is sloping down because it goes down the stairs. And I'm going towards this wall, thinking, I'm not going down the stairs. What? And then the wall gets closer and closer, closer to the point where my nose is about to touch, and I close my eyes because I'm thinking I don't know what's going to happen here. But I kind of peek as well, and as I peek, I realise I'm now in the wall. I can see wooden slats behind the plaster. I can smell a horrible smell in my nose, and then that's all I remember. Past, gone, blanked, absolutely gone. I have no idea what happened to me. I'd love to say that some nice aliens were looking after me, or I'd love to say it was a dark government project. I don't know. I've got no clue what it was.
Wow.
No answers. Um,
Wow,
so
man.
for those that say, oh, was it a spiritual abduction? I'd say no, because 20 years later, no, it wasn't 20 years later, it's probably about 15 years later, I'm working on a building site to earn a bit of cash. I'm smashing this wall down with a sledgehammer of this old building, and I see behind this plaster those wooden slats that I saw that very night. Flash Flashback straight to 6 years old. It's the only time that I see those wooden slats ever in my life, and
Did
then
you
I
did you
realised that.
did
God,
you remember that memory before you saw them?
no,
That just brought it all back. Oh wow.
no, it brought it all back, and the smell. So I saw the wooden slats, and then the smell that hit my nose was the horrible brick dust, cobwebby smell that you get in old buildings, like if you knock a wall down. That horrible, and it's black, black soot almost. That smell is what I smelled when I went through the wall. I smelt that
Wow.
brick dust, and then the other smell, the first smell, before I was levitating, I realised only 2 or 3 years ago what that was. So quite late in life, my wife said to me, "Oh, what do you want for your birthday?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know really. I'll get me one of those plasma balls. I've always wanted one and never got one. You know what they are, don't you? Those globes that got the put your fingers on, and electricity comes to your
Yeah,
fingers.
yeah, yeah.
Plasma. Yeah. So I had that. She got me that for my birthday from my daughter. I was playing with it in my bedroom, as you do, as a as a grown-up child as I am. Mesmerized by the purple plasma, is wonderful. And then I realized there was an odd smell. And instantly realized that the smell I smelt in that hallway at 6 years old was ionized air. Because that's what the plasma's doing to the air around the ball, is ionizing the air. It's like a disinfectant type smell almost, very
Hmm.
faint. So if you've got a plasma ball, turn it on, play with it for about 10 minutes, you will smell that smell. And I was like, oh Christ, that there was electricity in the air then, because the air was ionized. So
Wow.
it wasn't a spiritual abduction, it's physically happened to me. And I think whatever happened to me had a lasting impression on me, which is why when the shamanic healer healed me the other day, my 6 year old self was still trapped in that room. And that's so sad. That's what made me actually quite upset. So that poor
Wow.
kid's been there the whole time,
Yeah.
and I was able to give him a cuddle and tell him it's all right and take him to a nice place
Wow, man.
where there's waterfalls and meadows and
Yeah.
colour and not this dark, horrible room the poor kid's been stuck in all his time. So yeah,
Wow.
it's profound, I think is the words.
Yeah.
And
Wow,
it's
man.
from that day that my fascination with UFOs and ghosts started. Because
Yeah.
I feel everybody in this field, including yourself, all had a calling. All of us. We're very special. Throughout the 9.5 billion that's on this planet right now, not everybody gets experience. Not everyone hears the calling, and if they do hear the calling, not everyone acts on it. But you have, your listeners have, because they're listening. People doing power investigations have. People that write books and make films about it have. Why? You've got to ask yourself. You've got to stop, take stock of ourselves, and go, why?
Yeah.
Because it's the truth. We live in a remarkable universe with endless possibilities. It doesn't have to be the way it is for right now for us. All right. We don't have to listen to the 1%. We don't have to have that control element over us. We can have free, clean energy. We can be happy. We don't have to fight about what color skin we got today or what part you want to stick in somebody else's part. None of that matters. It's all irrelevant. It really does. It's just division. So the racism thing, it's just division. Just we've got different color schemes. That's it. Deal with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We've still got the same soul energy.
Yeah.
That's
100%,
that's all that
man.
matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Employers, don't get on your high horse because you employ people and pay them. Feel privileged that they will work for you. That's how you should be feeling. Because the guy cleaning the toilets at a massive multi-million pound industry is really got the same soul essence as the guy running it.
Yeah. And
So
very important.
you've got to you've got to get a grip of yourselves and go, there's a big portion of us hearing it now.
Hmm.
We've got to stop this division. These wars have got to stop, right? Because it's just causing the misery that these EDEs thrive on. Do you not think they're not behind all this stuff? Using the puppets,
Yeah.
our world leaders, WEF, WHO, all this stuff. They're just people wanting money, power, because that was their promise. They asked for it, they got it, but they're now controlled. And that doesn't mean that they get to control the rest of us.
No.
And I'm very passionate about that. We've got to sound these EDEs out for what they are, because actually they're weak. They've got no power at all. They have to get us to do their bidding. They have to, because they've got
And
no
they
real physical strength here.
in a lot of cases that
So
they're feeding off negative energy, and
yeah,
that's what they grow for. Yeah, man.
and every now and then you might get an EDE that remarkably feels he needs to prove himself by moving an object in front of you or levitating something. Then great, good on you, well done for you, but you're still not powerful. They're just not. They're just trying to scare the hell out of you. Because if you did see a chair levitate in front of you, you would like, absolutely fall to bits. But actually, the physics of it is not impossible. It's not. We used to be able to do it ourselves a long time ago.
Yeah,
We used to be able to manifest things ourselves a long time ago. So it's not a power where we're not is alien to us. Excuse the pun, but it's
yeah,
not. So for them to use those cheap tricks as they are, it's just a way of them trying to convince you more that they're powerful and you should be scared of them. But they're not. I mean, I'm yet to record anything where I see an object levitating. Found nothing. I've seen an object move on its own only last year, which is what prompted me to do Sapienza actually.
yeah.
Something happened to me last year, and I was like, "Oh shit! Okay, I'm gonna have to do it now."
You saw an object move.
So,
What was the object, man?
yeah, it was a door. I know you might go, "Oh, that's boring," but it was impossible for this door to move.
Yeah.
I was in my bed. We was away in Suffolk in Essex. Was away for a weekend with my wife and my child. Um, it was a Saturday night. My room had one door in and another door which went into a second bedroom.
Hmm.
So the only way into the second bedroom was to go through my room. Okay, so there's a door there, a door into my room. I sleep on my own because my wife was sick of my snoring, so she slept in the spare room. And my daughter had taken 2 hours to settle her that night. She was an absolute nightmare because she's only a little one. So eventually, half 5 in the morning, I'm finally going, oh God, I just want to get to sleep. I'm really tired. So I'm nodding off. Now my we took the red light with us. She has red light in her room. You know, it's like a little ladybug shape.
Oh yeah, yeah,
She doesn't like it too dark. So we took that with us, and that's in her room. I've shut her door because that red light drives me mad. So I'm laying there. I can see the red light through the rim of the door, but not bothering me. And I can hear her white noise. We play white noise into like just a digital version, not real. And then my wife comes in. I'm like, oh, because the floor, bang, but she's bashing away. I'm thinking, oh my God, you're not going to wake up our daughter. I was really angry. I thought, and I think I swore at my wife. And I sat because I looked up, she was opening the door. The door was opening. There's no windows open, by the way. Just got to bear that in mind. Door was opening, but it was still too dark. But the red light was starting to pour into my room, but it's still too dark. So I tapped my smartwatch for the backlight to come on because
yeah.
it can light up a room. I realised she wasn't there. There was no one there. And the moment I lit up the room, the door stopped opening. The moment I done it.
Man. Yeah.
So it was no breeze. There was no windows. It was late April, early May. There was no weather conditions to explain it. A door doesn't just stop opening because I put my smartwatch on. And then I got the terrible feeling of like dread, like, oh my God, it's not my wife, this is something else. Because I physically heard it walk across the floor. That's why I was absolutely 100% convinced it was my wife. It wasn't just a door opening, it
Yeah.
was boom, 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 pushing the door. And I was like,
Wow.
oh crap. So I leapt out of bed. I was angry because my first response is to fight.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I was like, show yourself, you coward, who are you? You know, I was really angry. And then my daughter screamed from her room. So I just ran into that room, not knowing what to expect. But she was sound asleep, facing the wall.
Oh,
She
wow.
didn't. And now I'm getting proper and going, do not use my daughter. You know, how dare you? So I'm sounding this thing out to the point where I feel a bit more comfortable to go back to bed. But I'm freaked out now. And now it's 3:30 in the morning. I'm still wide awake. And I'm like, oh, God, am I going to have to get up my family and leave? You know, because I don't know how I'm going to sleep. Because we had another night to go, by the way. I thought if I could do another night of
No.
that. um, so 3:30 in the morning, I get the feeling of dread return. I could feel it coming back in the room. Can't see or hear it this time, but I know the bloody thing's back. So I tried to get out of bed and it did not let me get up out of bed. It pushed me down. So I'm now getting a sensation of being really hard to get out of my bed, like to get up. I was propped up at an angle, by the way, because I wasn't laying down. I was at an
Hmm.
angle because I was on guard now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I'm not having this. So, and I wasn't asleep, no matter what people say, oh, you must have been drinking. Yeah, I had a couple of drinks that night, but not to the point I was passed out.
Yeah.
So if I had lots of drinks, I would have slept through anything. So I'm trying to sit up, and this thing was resisting me. And the only way I can explain to people was, well, is if you were to lay in a pool, you know, underwater, you're laying down, and then you've got to suddenly sit up. That pressure you'd feel from the water is what I felt on my chest. It was
Interesting.
hard, and I had struggled to get out of bed, but I broke through, and I leapt out of bed, and I was effing and blind at this thing now. But then I calmed myself down and I thought, no, I think I just need to talk to it rather than be angry. So I just said, look, please don't disturb my child or my daughter, my wife. You know, my daughter's going to be up at like 6. I'm not going to get a lot of sleep. Please let me sleep. So I kind of reasoned with whatever it was, and I did. I got 2 hours sleep that morning. 2 hours sleep. It took me all day to really tell that to my wife what had happened. I just didn't know what to tell her.
What's your
You
wife's
know, I didn't know
reaction
how
with
she.
stuff like that? Is
Well, she's quite a spiritual person anyway, so she
Mhm.
wasn't freaked. She actually said, "Oh, when we go back to the house, because we'd gone out for the day, goes, I'll go in and have a chat with it." I said, "Great, I'm taking her daughter to the park. I'm not going back in there." So she talked to this thing. It was an old guy used to live there. Apparently, he was just a bit miffed that we were there, and
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
but
So your wife actually
and the other,
communicated with the entity.
yeah, yeah, she does. She can do that. She's intuitive that way. I
Okay.
am too, but not like her. She's what I'd describe as a spiritual person. I've got spiritual beliefs, but I'm not. I wouldn't go to a spiritualist church. I don't do the cards. I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
My wife's done all that. She sat in circle and done all that. And I've been with her, but and when I went to circle once, they said, "Oh, do you want to try and talk to the spirit?" I was like, "No, I don't, because I don't
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
I don't get how they die, but don't come back and tell us the important stuff that we should know about. Not we please tell us something important. Tell us how it works. I don't get why they're not telling us stuff.
Hmm.
So I'm not 100% on it. I believe in it, but until the day comes, I do an open investigation on it, and I will do. Um, I can't tell you what it is yet.
Yeah.
I can't tell you why they're not giving us the proper information we need.
Yeah.
So
Well, I've been
I
told,
don't know yet.
and I don't know this obviously, but I've just been told by people that they're not allowed to tell us that. I don't know how true that is. I don't know, but that's just what I've over the
Well,
short time of talking to
they're
people.
not allowed, or they're told they're not allowed. That's
I
the two
don't know.
different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
imagine this as a hypothesis. when you die, obviously we're walking around in an avatar, essentially, a flesh and bone avatar,
Hmm.
and which the bone doesn't rot. It's weird, that, isn't it? It seems to go on for a long time, cartilage. But we're an avatar. I'm happy with that concept, and I'm happy that our soul, our energy, lives within us, and it's probably locked away in our pineal glands, in our minds, what people call mind's eye, third eye, whatever you want to call it. I'm quite happy it probably sits in there too, to be honest. So I'm all happy with that concept. So when we die, obviously the body has a shelf life, and then we move on. So imagine then if you move on and you go to the next part, which is seeing the light, then they're going, oh, come to the light, it's your granddad up there or your nan or your, whoever you want it to be, Elvis Presley if you want, whoever it be, whatever get you through that light, they will be there for you. So you go, yeah, lovely, I'll go through the light. And then you go into the next phase where you go through your life flashes through your eyes. You see every moment and you see how you affect everybody apparently. So you go through that and then they go, well, you've got some lessons to learn. You're gonna have to go back. And you go, oh shit, really? Yeah, you got to go back, So it's like, well, I'm not a cat. Like, no, it doesn't matter. You got to go back. So,
Yeah.
so you have this little maybe to and fro with them. And you go, okay, oh yeah, oh yes, I think my daughter still needs me. I'll go back. You might have a draw to go back.
Hmm.
So you write your new contract. You do it all over again. They wipe your brain, your memory, and you start all over again as a baby. Go through it all again. And learning again and making the same mistakes again. You just over and over and over. That cannot be life. That is not life. That is a sentence. So to me, when I see the light, I won't be going through any light. I don't care what's at the end of that light because it's not them. It's not your
Interesting.
parents. It's not Elvis Presley. It's the EDEs. They're tricking you. They're playing games with you. They're masters of deception. They can impersonate anybody and anything. They can be those, what do Muslims believe in? How many virgins is it? They go for, is it 38 or something like that? It
Hmm.
can be all them, the most beautiful women they've ever seen in their entire lifetime. Crack on, guys, but that's not what you're really getting. You've been tricked. I won't be going for any light. I can tell you that on my next one. I'll be looking at the door to my left, that crappy little door that doesn't look very inviting at all. That's the one I'm going through because I'm quite convinced that that's your real true freedom, where that's your way saying, no, thank you. I actually want to be a living entity now. And and you will encompass the entire universe. You will be a creator again. You will be a god again. Because you must have heard that people say, oh, we are creators of our own destiny.
Hmm.
But are we kind of, if that is true, my destiny would be that I would be sitting on billions of pounds by now. I'm not. Okay. Maybe I need to work better on it. Maybe I will. But,
That's interesting,
it's
man.
not as easy as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's still the trap. And there are books written on the subject.
Hmm.
I think there was one called the Soul Trap, trap. And there's theories about that moon. The moon is a staging, a stopping place you go to first before going on to Jupiter or Saturn. Saturn's another base. There's all these outlandish theories about where your soul actually goes, and that it never leaves this solar system, which is a travesty. It's a how can we be stuck such powerful beings in this trap of this solar system, which in the grand scheme of things is not very big. Because when you actually look at our universe and the billions more that exist, we are really nothing. So it's not improbable that we are kind of slaved away just to become another battery. It's like the Matrix film.
Interesting.
Neo wakes up and he's in that pod. He's
Yeah.
got things sticking in him. And he's nothing more than a food source. Just because we haven't got wires sticking out of our backs doesn't mean we're not still the same source. Food source is something else.
Yeah.
So is it aliens? Might not be. Is it Jesus Christ? Is it Muhammad? Is it, your parents or the film star that you idolized? I mean, I love Bruce Lee. You know, I bet I'll kind of find Bruce Lee up there. You know, go, hey, I'll teach you kung fu again. Like, oh, thanks, Bruce.
Come on
No,
in.
I won't be doing it, Bruce. Cheers. Thanks for the offer, mate, but no, thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, it's interesting, man. It's very interesting. So
so the
when
EDEs is a massive thing.
yeah, for sure, man. So when going back to when you were 6 year old, you had this experience, then you sort of realized what happened as you got older. Have you had any
Hmm.
other experiences in between that?
So I've had a couple of what is known as downloads,
Hmm.
extreme painful experiences where I literally thought my brain is going to burst through my skull, which are like imagine the worst migraine you've ever had times 100. I was literally crawling up the wall. Uh, my then partner had to ring an ambulance. I had a couple of friends rushed around to hold me down. Awful experience. And that
Wow.
must have been my daughter, my first daughter at the time was probably just a baby. So probably looking at 1996, 1997 time. So a long time ago. Um, Horrible experience that did not want to go through again, but I did. About 7 years later, it happened to me again, but not as bad, I must add. But it left me, after I calmed and slept, it left me with lots of weird information that I couldn't prove any of it. Couldn't prove any of it, but everything made sense to me. Everything. It's like, oh, I get it. I get it. I get
Interesting.
it. You know,
Yeah.
and it's not actually a great place to be because you question everything. You become very cynical of the world. It got me down, actually. You know, I could have easily spiraled it myself into a food source for another EDE, and maybe I did at the time. Maybe I did, but I did snap out of it. Um, but it affects you, it affects your life. And then
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of UFOs as well. Not up close and personal, but I was in the clouds where I live only a few years ago.
Interesting.
Sort of white dot in the clouds come down, go back up, go sideways, go across, stop again, and then fly off in the clouds like a bright star during the day.
Yeah.
You know, so that was like, oh, okay, that's real then. You know, I took that on the chin, and I
Yeah.
had a weird orange light come to my window. I was at the time I lived in flats. I was one flight up, and a weird small light come up to my window. I was looking straight at the thing,
Wow.
and there was no, and I because my window's open sideways, I had to kind of open the window with my phone to take a picture of it, but it started moving away. And I did take a picture, but it just came out black. There was nothing to show for it,
Interesting.
unfortunately. There's no sounds, so it wasn't a drone. It wasn't a nosy person being flying a drone, but it was an orange light, small, and it wasn't no bigger than a tennis ball. Really, it wasn't big, but it just came to my window. It's like, and my windows were huge, overlooked the estuary, so I
Okay.
had a nice view of the estuary. So
Yeah.
my windows are literally floor to ceiling in length. And I was looking at the thing going, wow, what's that then? Really weird. And then I had that obviously that experience last year with this entity, and that's what made me go, all right, I hear you. I'm gonna have to do something now. You
Yeah.
know,
You had a
I've sat on
calling.
SEPI for so many years because it's been in my mind for 20, 30 years to do it properly. But
Okay.
I didn't
Yeah.
have the experience, you know. I've now got 10 years of military experience behind me. I've got
Hmm.
10 years of policing experience behind me, 4.5 years in the NCA. So I probably wasn't ready before, but I am now,
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
I think there's something
Um,
to that. There's times when we are ready. We get lessons, I think, and then and
mm,
it's meant to be. Can I
yeah, it
just ask
is.
you about
And
the downloads that you experienced? What actually,
mm,
what that felt like and what that was?
um, I've actually got pain in my head now, actually,
Oh
talking about it.
no.
But
Oh
it's
no.
like, if you've ever experienced a proper migraine,
Hmm.
you know, where you're light sensitive type migraine, you can't look at the light, you know, open your eyes will just absolutely kills you. I mean, did suffer from migraines. I think afterwards, I don't know if it was before, don't know when it was about that time. And I remember the doctor would give me some pill. It was like a magic pill. It's in its own box, like a plastic box, just one single pill. And it was so special that it had its own encasing. And he said, if you ever get this attack again, you've got to take this because it will eliminate it immediately. And I never did get that severe attack. I never did take that pill. I don't like taking pills as it is,
Yeah.
but imagine that migraine where opening your eyes hurts you, your head is squashing like a vice, your your face is aching,
Hmm.
your body feels hot, you feel you're gonna be sick, that you want to be sick, in fact, but you don't want to be sick because you know the very act of being sick is going to hurt you again, hurt your head because the pressure, it'll build pressure. You know, that wrenching will just cause more pressure and that more pain. Um, you can't even want to, you don't even want to go to the toilet because it'd be pressure. Just, I can't, yeah, it's just torture. It's absolute torture. So I don't know if I can really explain it properly, but that's how
Yeah.
it felt.
And you just
Um,
had knowledge that you didn't have before after the
yeah, not
experience.
immediately. It was like dreams later, like dreams, and like a few weeks later, I started going piecing things together, going, ah, yeah, 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 like, that doesn't feel right. Oh, that feels right. And I've always said to people, because those obviously with the SEPI agency, we do get a lot of falsehoods put our way too. And here's one thing people say to me, well, how do you know if something's real or not? The and excuse the language, but the bullshit will sit around your head and you'll mull it over in your head. The truth is felt in your heart. And I can't say give it any better advice than that. The
Hmm.
falsehoods, I'll say in a cleaner way, the falsehoods will bang around in your head, but the truth will feel it in your heart. And that is how you know, and I know that is my gauge. That's my my BS meter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know straight away it's
It's
going
like
to
you're listening to,
BS.
yeah, listening to your gut, and it feels right.
Your heart is a second brain. I don't know if you realize that. It's got a lot of neurons in it. It is
Hmm.
they do say a heart, when you meditate, you should be heart brain synchronized. There's a certain frequency to do that. There's a certain type of meditation to do that. You've got to really marry the two together because your heart is a second brain. And your heart will know the future before your brain does. It can actually tell the future. So whenever people say to you, well, go with your head or your heart, oh, in my head I'm thinking this, but in my heart I'm thinking this.
Yeah.
Always go with your heart because your heart is telling you that because it knows it's the better outcome for you.
Interesting.
Okay, forget what the brain's telling you because your brain goes too practical because your two lobes are fighting against each other, against the creative one and the practical one. So they're having
Yeah.
this internal battle, but your heart knows what is the right answer. So feel it in your heart, the truth. So we've had some amazing stories come our way in the second age, and I immediately know from the outset that a person's disingenuous or that the story is going to be fabricated beyond belief, and my heart is already flying red flag for me. But because I have to go through my due diligence still, I still have to take it on board. I
Hmm.
will still do my investigation techniques because I don't like to say to people, "You're full of that. I'm not interested." I like to give a reason why we're not take a case on. Take a case on. Um, and usually very quickly, I will find some good evidence to show why I'm not taking that case on. They will unknowingly or unwittingly give it away at some point, and I will say to them, so I can't take your case on because X, Y, Z. And I'll
Hmm.
be nice about it, civil and respectful. Um, if I feel they need some professional help, I may hint of that. That may, you know, if I feel maybe they need help from family or friends, um, maybe it's an EDE doing it to them. Maybe they don't really mean to come up with silly stories. Because I've had some right corkers, and you just know.
Yeah.
And then I do things like reverse image searching and found, oh, this is your picture of a UFO that I built. Oh, did you? Yeah. This is a picture of it. A reverse image search then finds out that it's an image from 6 years ago on someone else's Facebook page. And you say, sorry, my friend, but I get one red flag, I'm out. I'm out. I
Yeah.
will not look at this any further.
But
And
you're a
on that
police
particular
officer,
example,
man. Like you're going to see that a
yeah,
mile off.
yeah, and I'm not also going to waste the time of me and my other officers either, because we do all this free of charge right
Mhm.
now.
How many
We'd
guys
only
have you got in the
charge.
team?
So
Sorry, man.
we've got at the moment 5 of us, a sixth one possibly coming on board. I've got a researcher as well. So yeah, and I'm actually giving training this Sunday for 3 of my officers. So after their final part 2 training that they get from me on Sunday, they will then all 3 of them will become SEPI officers officially because they're all
Okay.
PSOs at the moment,
Yeah. Yeah.
potential SEPI officers. So they're all looking forward to getting the training done, so I can give them their polo shirts and their ID badges.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Moving up the
So
ranks.
yeah, they're moving up the ranks and they're going to take on cases themselves. So it's not all me doing everything because right now I design the logos because luckily I'm quite good technically, got a good IT background, and I used to be a web designer and developer. So I'm good with Photoshop and all that stuff, which is handy because I use those tools to debunk stuff.
Yeah.
I've been learning DaVinci Resolve since October, so I do my own videos. So all the stuff on our YouTube channel is all me. So if they're not great, give me some credit. I only started doing it since October, so I'm still learning. But I love doing videos. I love it.
Yeah,
So I
man.
do all the logo design, the videos, the website is me. The cases is mainly me getting them and investigating them. So I can now spread that workload to others, and start divvying that out. And so I'm looking forward to for them to start being effective in their roles, and
Yeah.
they are too. One of them's already going on about, oh, I really want to investigate the Bigfoot thing in the UK.
Oh, yes, man.
Yeah,
Let's go. Oh, I lost you for a second. Let's turn that on. Just as you started talking about Bigfoot, it went off there.
it went off.
I got very
I was saying
excited.
that I was saying that one of my officers is really excited to start investigating the Bigfoot issue here in the
Yeah, I
UK.
love that, man.
But I didn't even know it was a thing, but it is definitely a
Yeah,
thing, isn't it?
people have seen them. Yeah, there's
That's
something going on, man. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And, are they dimensional beings themselves? Who knows? So the SEPI agency will conduct an investigation into that. We
Oh,
will look at that.
yes. Interesting.
And I'll give that to her because she really wants to go with that one. So
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's what makes us unique. We're not just looking at UFOs and ghosts. We're looking at anything that's supernatural, anything that's paranormal, anything that's extraterrestrial in form. So unlike MUFON, who are just you can only report UFOs to MUFON, they're not interested in your poltergeists, but we are.
Yeah.
Give us a UFO case, give us your poltergeist case, give us your possession case, give us your cryptoid case. We'll look at it all,
Yeah.
and we'll investigate it, and we'll do it as thoroughly and as best as we humanly can.
Awesome, man. It's
And we
awesome stuff.
we do that with yeah, and we do that with open hearts as well. So we're not just being forensic in our approach. We're not just going, well, if we can't measure it or poke it or prod it, then it doesn't exist. We're not that mindset. That's what the science does. That's why science is failing us today because they just have to prod and poke something for it to be real.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't live in a real world.
No, man.
Even science
Yeah.
has now turn around going, oh, actually, I think we're all a hologram. Of what, guys? Come on, get a grip. Like all our atoms in our bodies are 99% hollow. we
Yeah.
don't we don't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's
It's
wild.
it's it is weird when you look at it. The seat you're sitting on doesn't exist,
Yeah.
but you can feel a sensation and it props you up in its gravity zone. That's all it's doing. You don't
Yeah.
exist. So that's why the CPAC can't do just doing a forensic. We do forensic analysis, but we can't just rely on that. So we will use shamanic healers. We may use psychic mediums. We may use spiritual people that we feel got some credibility and some good results. We may do that, but in other cases we may not. We may be able to prove other ways. But so yeah,
Yeah, man.
it's a long road, but
Yeah,
one
but
we're happy to tread.
it's going to be very exciting to see how you progress. Super
Yeah.
interesting, man. Thank you for sharing this tonight. And can you tell if anyone's listening and they'd like to reach out to you, can you tell them where they can find you?
Yeah, so if you visit our website, so it's sepi-agency, so sepi-agency.com, you will then use that's our main website. You can contact us there. You can report an incident to us, and you'll get a unique reference number, and we'll get back to you. You can visit our YouTube channel through the website because there's videos on the homepage, so you can just go to them. But if you want to find us on the socials, we're on at Seppi Agency on YouTube. We're just called Seppi Agency on Instagram. I think we're called the Seppi Agency on X, formerly known as Twitter. And TikTok we're also called Seppi Agency. So there's the theme, Seppi Agency, the whole thing. So we're easily found. Yeah, come to us. And if you thinking of or wanting to be a Seppi officer or a Seppi researcher, again, contact us through the website so we can look at that. Or if you're a power investigations team anywhere in the world that wants to either affiliate to us, because what I haven't even told you is that we're building a big database. We're going to be sharing that information with everybody eventually. Just like Stephen Greer has done with the UFO stuff and Disclosure
Interesting.
Project,
Yeah.
we're doing with UFOs and ghosts and paranormal and supernatural and cryptoids. We're going to build a big database. So if you want to be part of that movement, because it will be a movement, contact us. And you can either become a SEPI agency branch in where you live, or you may keep your own identity and but affiliate with us. And that way, once the website's done, because it's been built right now as we speak, I've already paid for it. The guys in India are working away very quickly for me. Once that's there, you'll have access to it. I can then give permissions, and you can log in. You can see the cases. That's what it'll be doing. You can upload
Awesome.
videos and files, all sorts. So yeah, so come find us, and let's try and work together. That's my main message, really. Stop working siloed. We're not helping each other doing that. It may be exciting going into do a ghost walk. Great. We'll never do walks, by the way. But let's work together. Let's start sharing information and drop the egos, leave them at the door, and just start working together. And that's the only way we're going to break this cycle and have and lead better lives. Literally, it will be life changing.
Yeah. Awesome stuff, brother. I'm going to share the links, will be in the show description so people can find
Thank
you
you.
easily. David, thank you so much, man. You're welcome back on the show anytime. I'd love to talk more with you sometime and keep us updated, man. Let us know what's going on. And yeah, just thank you so much for
Absolutely, we
your
will.
time tonight, brother. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right, guys, if you enjoyed the show, share it where you can. That's a great way to support us. We're going to be back very soon for more freaky conversations. In the meantime, stay safe and keep it freaky. Bye for now.